Tennessee Titans fans, if there's anything Rich Eisen is going to do, he's going to talk about the Titans on his show. And we appreciate that, don't we? We appreciate the shout out and the love. And congratulations to Rich Eisen as he has been rehired at ESPN. They need him. I'll just say that. They need him. And they need him to do their draft coverage next year because that crew they had this year wasn't doing it. This is Rich Eisen talking about the topic of would the Titans really start Will Levis over the number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward? Would they really?
Now, last year, after the Chicago Bears drafted Caleb Williams first overall, it was a no-brainer, right? Correct?
No-brainer. Yeah.
And so when a quarterback's taken first overall, and there are some people with half a brain for sure who are saying is this a no-brainer? You're kind of wondering if there's any there on this front. And that's what Cam Ward's got to deal with. Is obviously lots of expectations.
Sure.
But I've never seen a first overall drafted quarterback get zero buzz or run about him.
Well, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with Tennessee Titans on Twitter as rookie camp and everything's going on. But he's not getting much publicity from his own team. I mean, the Titans, their social media people, this is nothing new. They've done this for years when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, I'll say this. The Browns are hyping up both Dylan Gabriel and Shador. The Seahawks had a video package put together of Jalen Milroe. The Titans picked Cam Ward first overall, and he's hardly anywhere to be found. Now, does that make a difference in how he plays on the field? No. But he's not even getting hyped up within his own organization.
Like Cam Ward. And that actually happened right off the bat. Again, we had him on as soon as he was drafted. Yep. And I was told that night ESPN did not have the interview with him.
No,
because
they did not.
I guess they were in Mad Mel mode right there. And
and this is the guy ESPN just hired. You tell him, Rich. Go over there and make some change on that network.
Broken.
The trade broke for us too, but we still spoke about Cam Ward for a couple minutes and then tossed to the interview.
Good point, Rich. We got word of the trade on NFL Network too, but we still gave Cam Ward his flowers. We still gave him his moment before we just cut away. Much more than ESPN could say. Yeah. Still ain't issued.
That was kind of going nuts, and then obviously the trade broke, so they were all in on the Travis Hunter, Shador of it all.
Right. Yeah. And we were too at some point. Listen, I'm not denigrating.
Yeah. No, that's just what happened.
Because he knew he was getting hired.
Long story short, after Caleb Williams got drafted, this is what Matt Eberflus, head coach at the time, had to say about whether this was a week 1 starter or not.
Has he been told that he's the starter going into training camp? Do you even have to have that conversation?
No conversation. He's the starter.
I mean, that was it. And
that was pretty smart.
Listen, we were saying that at the time.
I mean, you can debate whether it was smart or not, but how did it work out for Eberflus? I don't know. You guys are about to convince me to go the other way with this because it didn't work out for Eberflus and it didn't work out for rookie Caleb Williams. Now, Caleb can still, he's got plenty of time, but didn't work out for rookie Caleb Williams, and that Chicago team was a massive disappointment. So, I'm not going to sit here and praise Matt Eberflus and the 2024 Chicago Bears and be like, oh, we got to do what they did. It worked out for them.
Even in retrospect, a totally different answer from Brian Callahan, the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
We'll have plenty of opportunities. How those reps get shaken out will sort of be determined by how they perform when given opportunities. That part of it's been thought out. We have a plan in place. And what that looks like is going to ultimately be sort of up to them, and how their performance goes when there's time to perform. So feel good about the process and the plan in place. And there's going to be plenty of reps for those guys to compete and get better and improve and be ready to play in September. So, starting off early on here is baby steps to some degree.
When you say those guys, which guys are you referring to?
All the quarterbacks. Yeah, they're all going to have opportunities to compete. And again, there's 3 quarterback jobs on most teams, sometimes 4, and we're going to let them compete for all those.
Cam Ward.
I mean, I don't think Tim Boyle's coming up to take anybody's job, but I will say there's a lot you could take away from that. I think there's a part of them, they don't want Cam to just come in and feel like he's been given the keys to the kingdom. I can understand that. You don't want anybody to come in and get too cocky, too quick. You don't want anybody to feel like they don't have to work for it. You don't want anybody to feel like their spot is getting handed to them. So in that degree, I hear you, bro. And my dog agrees. But, on one hand, if Cam Ward can't beat out Will Levis and Brandon Allen for the starting job, we got other problems, obviously. But I will just say, I think there's going to be competition for the backup role. I still think Will Levis could be the backup. If he comes in and he's impressive and he does well, he could be the backup. But I also think, that he could realistically be traded. And so if you're Brian Callahan and you're Mike Morganzi and you come out and you say, okay, Cam Ward's going to be the starter, now you're pretty much letting everyone know we're done with Will Levis. There's nothing left there. And maybe you don't get as good of a trade offer for him later on. If they feel like, hey, they still like this guy, we're going to have to offer them more. If you're the Saints, if you're the Steelers, and you're needing the guy to come to play quarterback. So, and I do think the competition for the backup role is very real. I don't think they want Cam getting, to feeling like he's getting handed his spot without having to earn it. So, you could argue he already earned it by being the number one pick of the draft, but I digress.
Will Levis, Brandon Allen, Tim Boyle. So do we say that the first overall pick is number one? That's for sure. There's no competition there. And I understand the difference between Chicago and
I think it goes
and
without
Tennessee
saying, man.
Is Tyson Bagent wasn't a threat. Will Levis started games last year. But is it really going to be a situation where Will Levis can compete with Cam Ward, or because that door does appear to have been left open slightly ajar when this was said last week. And again, I guess one way that Cam Ward would be talked about is if he's in a quarterback competition with Will Levis and Will Levis is winning it. Like
That's
fair
not
and
good.
square, straight up, no thumb on the scale just because someone was drafted first overall, and we're willing to let him marinate. We're willing to let him work his way through getting ready because Will Levis is showing up loaded for bear, putting mayonnaise in his coffee and eating bananas and getting ready to go.
Then why didn't you take Travis Hunter?
You could have had Hunter then.
No,
You know what I mean?
I'm fully aware of that, and I might be completely misinterpreting what Brian Callahan had to say, but I have since, read tons of articles and do not see, there's no question he's our starter and he's going to be installed as our starter.
Well, I mean, Brian Callahan was there in Cincinnati when Joe Burrow showed up, and I think I would have to go back and look at how they handled it. Obviously, Callahan wasn't the head coach, but I think there's experience here. I think obviously Borgonzi has seen, the Kansas City thing with Mahomes and Alex Smith. And one thing I'll say is this: the Titans, this front office / head coach, they've already proven that deep down they can know what they're going to do and still not be willing to commit to it publicly. I think they knew they were drafting Cam Ward months ago. But what did we get? We got, we're keeping our lines open. If anybody wants to offer us anything, we're still open for business. We're still meeting with Shador and Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. Even though I think deep down they knew what they were going to do, they still did their process. They still went all the way through. And I think that's what I think they know. Obviously, you drafted this guy first overall. Obviously, you want him to lead the way into the future. But at least publicly, we're going to play the game of, hey, you got to earn your spot. And that's fine.
And sure, I mean, does this push Will Levis? Yeah. Does this push Will Levis to say essentially Brandon Allen or Tim Boyle have a shot at the backup job?
But Will Levis had his chance.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Why'd you take a quarterback number one overall?
Because Will Levis wasn't the guy, or
Right.
or Cam Ward has such a major upside. Like if Caleb Williams was the guy being drafted, it would have been, oh yeah, this makes complete sense. Will Levis, see you later.
Yeah, but do you pass up a unicorn? Everyone said this other guy was a unicorn and he was special and he was one of one. Like
The answer in the NFL is yes. You heard what Daniel Jeremiah said. 2 days after we were back from Green Bay, on the Tuesday after the draft, said he spoke to 15 to 20 people of note in various parts of evaluating and coaching and front officing, which is not really a verb, but I just did. That to an individual, he didn't find one that did not think the Browns did the right thing by trading out and getting quarterback type compensation for a draft trade involving somebody that isn't a quarterback. They thought, to an individual, the Browns did the right thing. Don't draft Travis Hunter if you're going to get what you got from Jacksonville, which is compensation in a draft trade that normally is the type of compensation involving a trade for a quarterback. So the answer is they did the right thing. They think Cam Ward is generational, and he's the guy that they can lead with the Brian Callahan.
Yeah, that's what they think. And I think we're just at this point, it's May. There's not a lot to talk about. I think we're just reading too much into this. I think that just like with the Titans draft position, when we all talked about what they were going to do and who they were going to draft and trading back and all of that, and we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all know where it's going. But I think, the Titans have said that the Titans apparently now like to say things that get people talking about what they're going to do. Generational player. Our phone lines are open. We're still going through our process. There's going to be competition. Like, it's all of this stuff that gets people talking because it's May and people are bored. But at the end of the day, you don't draft Cam Ward first overall to announce Will Levis as your starting quarterback. I mean, that's a fireable offense.
System, you do that instead of Travis Hunter. 10 times out of 10, 100 out of 100. The question is there really going to be a competition? Because for me, when that schedule comes out next Wednesday, I'm looking for who the Tennessee Titans are starting against and saying that's Cam Ward's first game.
Yep.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live.
And that's the way you have to be. I mean, listen, I've said this. It would be one thing. It would be one thing if the Titans had Joe Flacco on the roster, if the Titans had Jacoby Brissett on the roster, if the Titans had Carson Wentz or somebody, some veteran like that. Because then, if that's the situation you're in, you bring in Cam Ward. If he needs more time to develop, you do what New England did last year. You start that veteran, let them, give extra time for that rookie to get ready. But when you have a guy in Will Levis who was already given a chance, who everybody hoped would be the guy, and then he it didn't work at all, okay, that's just a different kind of thing, because that's not a veteran who is content to just hold down the reins while the other guy gets ready. Will Levis is still trying to prove himself as a franchise quarterback in this league. So, I mean, it's a unique situation that we're going to watch play out this summer. My gut feeling is somewhere around preseason or after the preseason, Will Levis will be traded somewhere. Unless they feel like he's got a good enough attitude and everything to stay and be the backup, which is still a possibility, but I feel like he'll get traded. Either way, Cam Ward is QB1, and there's just no way that it goes any other direction than that.